Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Girls on Rant. Of course, Destiny's here today, although I think this is a no webcam day for everybody involved. Um, as you can see, our topic today is Juneteenth. For a lot of people who are way the hell in the north, like, what the fuck is Juneteenth? Well, today we are going to get educated on Juneteenth, and we have two wonderful special guests with us today. You might know her as Squeeze My Rolls, but Jewel is with us, as well as another friend, Lizell. I probably slaughtered it again. But we're going to let them give an introduction of who they are to you in just a moment. So without further ado, I'm going to go into Discord, and let's get the ball rolling.
Juneteenth.
Yes,
Right.
Juneteenth. Actually, before that, why don't you ladies introduce yourselves? I gave the names, but haven't really said anything else. So why don't you give a quick introduction to yourselves?
My name's Lizell. My screen name is Baganda.pink.
I'm Jewel. My name is Squeeze My Rolls.
Is that an invitation?
Tightly,
Being
please.
It's open.
What are your ethnicities?
Oh, I'm Black, African American, Black.
Oh, and I'm half Black, half Filipino.
Now, is it safe to say you guys live on the East Coast?
Yes.
Okay. Because you never know. We have people from all over the world here. Mostly U.S., mostly the eastern half of the U.S. But I mean, we do have some people out in Arizona. I think we had one in California.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's all over the place. So people are usually interested, like where others are from, at least state-wise.
Oh.
Yep. All East
And-
Coast.
Yeah, and then there's Cookie. He's Swedish, and he's an odd duck, but we love him.
Oh, that's so cool.
All right, but yeah, Juneteenth is the topic. So for probably at least a good half of the U.S. who wonders what the fuck is this, would you like to enlighten us?
You can explain it better than I
Why?
can.
No, I don't.
Basically, okay, well, basically, it's Independence Day again. So if that makes sense, it's when we were actually freed.
All right.
It's
There was
honestly
a
the
portion of slaves that were not informed that they were freed.
Yeah.
And so I think it was like for 2 years in Texas, they were still being enslaved.
because to be honest, a lot of people did not know what Juneteenth is, including myself, until recently.
True.
All right, so from my Google foo looking it up. So basically, I think it was
I
a
love
year or two after the Emancipation Proclamation was stated, somebody went down to Texas to let the slaves all know and announce that they were in fact free. This is 2 years after the fact.
Right.
And I think that day was made as a celebration of finally everybody in the United States is officially free. Is that
Right.
correct?
So sad that those 2 years, those people were just working and didn't even know.
Yeah, they were still enslaved. They didn't even know that they were free.
And technically all illegal too. I mean, as they say that shit moves slow in Texas, but come on, 2 fucking years?
Yeah. Imagine.
So before we start, I do want to preface this by saying if you're sensitive to matters of race and equality, this may not be the podcast for you. This podcast, like the one we did with the LGBT plus community, is to educate others on the struggles of others that they might not be aware of. So our motivation for this is to hopefully make people more aware of what they say and how they act around people that seem quote unquote different than them. Additionally, if we say something racially insensitive, please call us out on this. Mel and I both. We do not mean disrespect by anything we say, and we want to be as aware of the sensitivities of this topic as much as we can. So I just want to make sure to put that out there real quick.
Well said. And I agree because I like to be nice. My mom always taught me that people are people first. It doesn't matter race, religion, sexual orientation, any of that. That doesn't matter. What matters is the person themselves. So I would rather say something that makes people feel warm and welcome and not something that makes them feel awkward.
Very true.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Kick this off.
Me?
Are you ready to start this off, Mel?
Uh, yes, I did. You have some questions that you wanted to break the ice with?
I do. I have a just starting like kind of what we did with the LGBT podcast, which is starting from childhood.
Mm.
So with I met Lizelle, I believe, after graduation. I might have met her throughout school. I'm not sure, but mostly we got to know each other better after graduation.
Mm.
But I went to school with Jewel. Um, both of these women are beautiful, strong, and resilient people. So that's why I feel like well, at least Jewel recommended Lizelle, and I was like, yes, 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 because they're both strong women. Um, so I do want to mention that because of how I was raised, I had problematic views on race growing up. I want to remind people that racism is not uh, you're not born racist. You are taught racism. And it wasn't until I graduated that I started doing my own research and self evaluating. And it was then that I realized that I actually in the past had racist tendencies and thoughts growing up, which looking back on, I was like, why did I think that way? And obviously, it's because of my upbringing. Jewel, I met in high school. And she honestly was probably my only close Black friend. I don't know why. I think it stems from the whole uh, racism kind of growing up kind of thing. But because she came to me, she had this like bubbly personality that made me feel safe. And we were in PE together, two big girls at the time. We both lost weight, by the way, but two big girls in PE, and we just stuck together like glue. Um, but they're both really strong and resilient women from what I have seen. I do not know what happened during their growing up, though. So I'm curious to know, growing up, what is an instance or instances where you experienced racism in school, and does it still affect you to this day?
Well, start off on that one. So yeah, a lot of experience
Oh,
from when it
this is
was
Lizelle
oh,
talking.
this is
Just
Lizelle
so.
because we do sound a lot alike. Yeah, so when I was coming up, I had to move around a lot, army brat. Anyways, so when we finally settled here on the East Coast, I was still moving around schools, but it wasn't as often. So when I did settle and I had to, start a new school, most of the time, a lot of the, different diversities of colors would welcome me. I would have like a Middle Eastern friend, I would have a Asian friend, and then when I would try to talk to, my white classmates, a lot of them weren't as welcoming. They would look at me like, they don't want to associate with me. So anytime I would move, I would gravitate towards, other, ethnicities because they were always nicer to me.
Mm.
And so when I came down here, it got even worse when I moved to where I'm living now, where I went to school, because it was a lot worse than and like you said, it's not we don't come into this world thinking like that. We are taught it.
Exactly.
I I'm gonna have like the opposite. I
Hmm.
was like the token friend, and I never really like understood what that meant. I was born in Florida. I was a beach girl, and like things were different down there. We moved where we live now, and it was like a whole new world. I was the Black girl who sounded white. That was key. I was a Black girl who sounded white. And so it made the Black people not really like me, but then the white people would only like me because I wasn't, oh, you're not black. Well, you're a different type of black. You don't act ghetto. Your hair's long and you
Oh,
sound
the
different.
stupid
So
phrase of you don't sound black.
yeah,
What does
You don't
black
sound
sound
like
like? It's a
that was
skin tone.
always that was always what I grew up with. And I used to think that I was okay to the point where like I wanted to be white. I would pray to God. I'm sorry if you're not like I would pray to anyone that I would wake up one day and be white like my friends. And I realized that was a lose-lose. Like,
so basically, in a nutshell, all the hate she received made her hate herself and what on the skin that was on her body.
yeah.
See, and that's quite the shame because I mean I like listening to documentaries when I'm working. And there was one study they did with some children, with some black children, I should specify. And they give them two dolls. One is a white doll, one is a black doll. And they ask which of these dolls is good and which one is bad. The black one is always chosen. And
I remember that documentary, and when the reason they say is because it's the pretty doll.
it's the pretty doll, or I don't know, the black one's always bad.
And it's shocking.
It's shocking and it shouldn't be that way because it
They're
gets
so
so
young.
ingrained,
They're so young too.
And
you
Mm-mm.
know?
I can attest with the whole Jewel thing because, like I said, she literally was like the quote unquote token black girl of the group. We were all in theater, and while there were other black kids in the class, I mean, Jewel was pretty much surrounded by white kids who would constantly tell her, "You're the whitest black person I know."
The Oreo, yes.
Right. And then Jewel would just kind of like laugh it off. But looking back, I was like, that's not right. Why did we do that?
Well, and I think part of it is because historically blacks have had a very difficult time finding meaningful employment, and it's not because of the skill sets. Honestly, anybody who has the skill sets and is qualified for the job should get the job. But because of systemic racism that was born into this country, they always have to work double, triple, even more um harder. That's not a it's not proper English, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to do that, and so end up living in communities of lower income housing and everything else, and they develop their own culture. I mean, the same went for the Irish and the Chinese and every other ethnicity that immigrated to America had their neighborhoods, especially around New York. So they developed their own culture, their own way of speaking, and everything else. And that's what we associate with the quote unquote the black man. But it's not that's not necessarily what makes you black. It's just part of this cultural heritage.
Mhm.
And I think it's something that should be embraced and celebrated rather than used as a stereotype and a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So, what's your Lizelle and Jewel, what's your earliest memory of becoming aware that some people looked at you differently? Like
Being here.
earliest memory you can think of that you were like, "Am I different? Like, what's going on?"
7 years old.
Seven?
Moving here to where we live now. I'm not even gonna lie. Moving here is like it's different. And I lived in Florida and like
I
it's
was in
different.
Northern Virginia.
So, Lizelle, you say 7. Joel, when did you move here?
I moved here. Wow, fourth grade.
Whew.
Oof.
You were probably wait, then you were
What did you notice that was different? Was it just the way the kids were like treating you or looking at you?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, most definitely. And like I had my white friends, but then you have the other set of white people who
Yeah,
just
you've got
didn't.
the good whites and the bad whites.
Yeah, because
they,
they're
they,
not
they,
all the same. You cannot group
yeah, some
white
just
people
don't
at
mess with
all.
you. Some
Yeah,
just don't mess with you.
yeah. So that it was definitely an eye changer when we moved here because I was a Navy brat. So we moved a lot, but then we ended up moving here permanently, and I've been here since. So yeah.
That's really disheartening because like I said, I mean coming from a background of and it's not like people want to be racist. Nobody wants to be
Right.
racist. They are just brought up that way. They're brought up with
They're
those ideas.
unintentionally acting and doing certain things.
Right. And if they like I hate saying this, but I have to put it out there because I know it's going to educate somebody hopefully out there someday. But I was a kid and what I was taught was the person's color, the reason why black people's skin are black is because they are quote unquote dirty. What the fuck was
I've
that all about?
heard that.
I've
Oh
heard
my
of
Have you
God.
heard anything like that before, or was that just how I was brought up?
no, I've heard of that. Yeah.
You like, and like, had I actually been like, had I had more, I had black friends growing up, but not too many in this area. Obviously, Jewel, this area more predominantly white, but
Yeah, it is.
And that is kind of like, a generational thing. They like stuff like that they'll pass down. I mean, I've heard stories like we used to run a roll around in mud, we drank too much coffee, um, we slept with animal. I mean, I've heard it all. Like, like, the old stories why people would ask why is their skin so dark or light or different shades, you know?
Yeah. It's awful because, like, it makes me feel bad knowing that I had to go like, I actually lived that,
Hmm.
and at the time, I was unaware of the things that I was saying, and thinking, but, that's why I speak out so much about it now is because, like, you can change. Some people aren't aware that they do have racist tendencies until their eyes are opened, and that's what I'm hoping somebody else can, relate to that.
Actually, yes. In chat, Sui. Sui lives over in the Quad Cities and was raised in a racist family. And he says that it wasn't until seventh grade or so that he grew a brain and started thinking, quote unquote, normally. So
That's
thinking
good.
against those thoughts that he was taught. Now, see, for me, it just kind of blows my mind that people would raise their children to think this way. But I had a different upbringing, and I'm loving my mother more and more now. Because when I was little, I asked about it. Because, I mean, it's normal for a child's curiosity to ask. Like, here I am with Irish Scottish heritage. I'm white as can be. So I'm like, well, why is their skin different from mine? And when I was super little, mom says God just made them that way. When I got older and could understand, mom says, well, everybody's skin. She's like, do you see all these freckles on your arms? That's pigment in your skin, and everybody has different amounts. People who have darker skin just have a lot more of it in their skin. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That was
Love
described so
mama.
beautifully.
Right.
Oh.
Like I said, when my mom says people are people first, like this is the way that woman raised me. She raised me to think critically, think creatively, and there was no racism at all in that woman. I don't think she's got a racist bone in her body.
Love
Um,
mama.
I can't always fault people who are racist because sometimes they just don't know any better.
They're
They just don't
uneducated
know.
on
Right.
it.
Well,
And it's
in
better to educate than belittle.
well, exactly. I mean, understanding the root causes of why things the way they are now is how we're going to be able to address the issues to move forward, because I was born in that kind of family where that's the way I think. But in the case of Destiny and Suey, and probably a lot of people further south where they're raised in these communities where these lies and misconceptions are taken as fact and truth, well, if these are facts and truth, why do I have to think about it differently? They don't know.
Right.
So on that note, what is you guys' opinion on when someone says color doesn't matter to me or I don't see color? Because I remember hearing that a lot growing up. And obviously when people say that they mean good things. But I know that there are some black people that hear that and go, "No, color does matter. It does matter. You should see color, but you should not judge on color." So what is you guys' opinion on those two phrases?
Ooh,
Do you want to go first? I'll go first.
it's a good one.
I, for that, I think it depends on the context of where you're coming from when you say that phrase. Because if you're talking about if someone's, being treated unjustly, you would have to see color only because that's a system we're living in. You have to see look at that person's eyes who's causing the injustice. I mean, how are they seeing this person as a person or what their skin looks like? Ooh, that's a lot. I
Yeah,
know that's a
I
lot.
remember
That's why I say it depends on the context.
I would say
I'm
that
gonna
a
let you
lot
talk on
growing up
that
is like
part. That's why I take that term with a grain of salt.
I would say that a lot growing up, that was when I wasn't it wasn't that I was racist, it was just that I was learning about the fact that, you know, I may have been raised with racist tendencies. So I
Hmm.
would say things like, I don't, skin color doesn't matter. I don't see skin color, or you know what that mean? You know what I mean?
What that
Um,
term means to me in all in for a general, but I've heard people use that in a different context. That's why I say it
right,
like that. But for me, when I say that term, I mean like you're a person, you're human,
right. Yeah,
you're
you're
just
human.
a person. Your skin tone doesn't define you.
And then there's some people, and I totally understand both sides too, where they're like, I want you to see color. I want you to see the color, but I want you to know that we are both the same color on the inside of the skin. We're all the same being.
I do
And
see
that's
that point
that's a
too.
way of putting it too.
Yeah, because I see that point too of, we don't want to blend everything so that way, we're not seeing color because we don't want to lose the history, the cultural heritage. We don't want to lose any of that. But
That
it shouldn't matter in terms of promotions at work, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Like that should, like race should affect your decision making in any professional setting.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That was good, sis.
No words.
So on that note, have you guys ever tried to act white to blend in or avoid racism?
We it's funny you asked
Do
that.
you
We actually
still
had
do
a conversation about that this morning.
yeah, do
I
you
mean, it's like a daily basis. It's to the point where like we don't even notice those things anymore. Cause you have to like
It's like a survival technique.
survival of the fittest. Yeah.
It's how it's
That's
pretty much so we can adapt to every situation, every crowd.
Yeah. When I go up to strangers in a setting, I I am in, I'll say, white girl mode. I'm right there. I'm like, hi, my name is Jewel. It's nice to meet you guys. Like, I am just like, that. I don't want them to know anything. How sometimes I'm like, gang, even though I like stuffed animals and anime. Like,
Mhm.
But the reason behind it is we don't know how people are going to take how our voice
yes,
sounds, how our face looks, how our skin looks,
yes.
how our demeanor is to them. So you never know. So we just assume how they want us to present ourselves and go from there until we get a feel for that person.
I never want someone to look at me and automatically judge me off stereotypes that they already have in place for my race. So I try to do everything that I can to not be that stereotype, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. And it's disheartening because you guys have to go through that still to this day just to blend in and try to make it in the world
And
versus just
maybe it
yourselves.
hasn't made it any better because like for instance Jewel was the token a lot in her school, so like a lot you don't want to be seen as the angry black ghetto girl in school.
Which is exactly why I don't fight. I don't, I will not fight with you.
I'm
I'm
the
not,
friend that fights.
because I don't want to be automatically labeled as the angry black woman.
And see, to me that's such a shame though, because like if I were to get angry and yell or something, at worst I'm just labeled as a Karen. But you guys get labeled, you're the angry black woman. Like, what's wrong with a woman raising her voice in defense of something?
Yeah, like I will literally be afraid to stand up for myself sometimes. It'll take Lizelle having to do, or Destiny. Sometimes Destiny will do it because like I don't want to be seen as that stereotype. So I'd rather just be quiet or just blow it off and be nice about it.
Oh, Destiny would shank someone in a
I
heartbeat.
have
I'll fight for her.
stories. I have one that pertains to Jewel and another one that pertains to another black friend of mine. So the first one I'll do with Jewel. Jewel and I were heading up. I think it was. I don't know if it was just me and you in the car. We were heading up
It
to
was
some sort of
it
dance
was
festival.
Brittany. It was Brittany.
So it was me, Jewel, and another girl, and we were driving up to like an EDM kind of festival for Halloween. And Jewel was wearing like dance, like techno garb kind of stuff. I'm trying to explain it to people who don't know like the clothing items, but like a skirt and like thigh highs, just super cute
Fishnet.
hair and pigtails. I mean, just imagine like the picture that's in the stream right now. But she
Mhm.
was wearing cute stuff, and this old white man was just staring at her. And I literally screamed out of the car, "What the fuck are you looking at?"
Was
And
so terrified.
that man looked terrified and got into it and drove away because Jewel wasn't going to say anything. She doesn't want to be that person.
Never. I'm always quiet. I will just be like, I'm sorry before I do anything else.
And then another situation where it comes to blending in and trying to be as quote unquote white as you can to survive. I have a friend named Steven, and he was trying to get a job. He was in a rough spot, and at this time I was working in a real estate company. And I was like, "Hey, they're hiring for a transaction coordinator. Is this something you'd be interested in?" He was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I need a job. Can you just send me the information I need to send my stuff to?" So he sends it in. I put in my recommendation. I said, "This guy, he's an amazing person. He cares for people, and I think he'd be a great fit for this role." So they interviewed him, or they went to call to interview him, and he had just woken up because it was like, I don't know, like 9 in the morning, and he was doing like some oddball work at night the night before.
Also,
And
his
he
voice was husky, probably. His
Yeah,
voice is probably
yeah,
husky.
he answered the phone, and apparently the conversation went, it was very short, and then he reached out to me and he said, "I messed it up." And I said, "What happened?" He said, I couldn't put on my white person voice. I had just woken up, and I was out of it. So I couldn't put on like my white person tone because it's a phone job. So he was like, so they heard like my natural gruff black tone, and she made the interview super short and said, yeah, I just don't think that your personality is what we're looking for in the company, or something like that. And I went to talk to her about it, and I was like, well, what exactly did he say that was so, not fitting for the role? And she was just like, he just didn't have the right phone personality. And I was like, hmm.
Can I shank
Because
her?
I know this guy. He is super energetic, so sweet, and he is very connecting with people. So I know for a fact that she heard his voice and was like, oh, he's not going to drive our sales. And that still irritates me to this day.
When I do interviews, I definitely put on like the super super white voice.
You're so
I'm not even gonna lie.
I'm a receptionist.
I literally got a job just because of my voice. Like I didn't do any of the tests. And people are like, "Did you think the test was easy?" And I was like, "What test?" All I did was do an interview just because of my voice alone.
Mhm.
It's just it's awful. Like I understand from like a business point of view, where if somebody was like, what do you I guess, if they use tones like that, then yeah, of course they're not going to be for a company. But if he's talking in his normal accent, and just, trying to get this interview, trying to land this interview, and he doesn't say anything negative, I just don't understand why somebody would judge based on the dialect.
I don't I think that's just like one of those things where it just over the years it just became what's considered professional and what's not. And it's sad to say, but I think that may be what it is.
Yeah,
Doesn't make it right though.
not at all.
Doesn't make it right.
Um, did you have any more comments on that, Mel?
No, no, I'm good. I think you guys covered that pretty well.
Okay. So moving on. So when it comes to, because we just spoke about the fact that, Joel, you don't like to be recognized as like the angry black woman. So do either one of you guys have a story about someone in your family or even yourself standing up against racial injustice?
I definitely do. Oh, it's Lizelle again. So we were going to church. Yeah, a church. You heard me right. We were part of this church. My immediate family, my brother, my mom, my dad, and I. We were big in the church. My dad would always fix up stuff if it broke down. I was in the choir, praise dance team, all of that. Um, so my mom is Filipino, full fledged Filipino. So one day we were at the church doing, what we usually do, fix up some stuff, getting ready for the next Sunday. And my mom answered my dad's phone, and it was the pastor's daughters. And when she was, trying to ask them what they were trying to ask, and she was repeating back what my dad was trying to say to the pastor on the other end, this girl is like 17, so she knows better, and she's a person of color. She's mimicking my mother in her native tongue, trying to sound like she's Filipino,
Oh
just saying,
no.
yeah, heavy accent. And my mom started crying. She told my dad what had just happened. He confronted the pastor, and he wouldn't talk to his daughters about it because he has to. Yeah, so we ended up just leaving.
Oh my
That
God.
is no. I mean, that'd be like me trying to walk up to you guys and trying to talk like I'm a native black person. That's just insulting. It's discourteous. It's why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what it makes you think, either what's being taught to your kids, and that's happening in the house of God. You wouldn't expect that.
No, you wouldn't because they try to teach equality and
Mhm.
everything else.
So, I mean, that's just going to chase people away from what you're trying to teach while you're in the pulpit and stuff. So, That's why we were kind of hesitant to go back to another church after that.
I can't
Well,
blame you there.
Yeah, and honestly, we didn't.
when
Mhm.
I say I would fight somebody for hurting my mom, I would have fought for your mom. Like, had I
Yeah,
seen something like that, I would have been throwing hands.
yeah. So you see my mom. You know I would, girl. If there wasn't a phone in between us.
Throwing hands in the house of God.
Yeah, because
No.
I'm like, my mom is the sweetest, most unselfish person. Why would you make fun of her?
I literally would be in the background like, no,
No, no,
please,
mommy.
don't fight, please.
Oh
Dude,
Lord,
if
but
I see any of
yes,
that in the street, I don't care if I know them or not. I would step right in the middle and be like, "Excuse me, what the fuck are you doing? You don't talk like that." And this is just her accent. This is the way she talks. You don't mock it. You don't make fun of it. Because does your mom actually speak
Tagalog, the Filipino language. Yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay. So here's another thing. I always give credit to people who speak more than one language, and English definitely not being one of their native
Us
language.
too. Us too. Definitely. They're
Mhm.
actually incredibly smart when you think about it.
Well, they have to be because, like, how many Americans actually speak more than one language? I
Very
mean,
few.
hardly any of us do, but yet we constantly put down people who don't speak English very well. It's like, dude, that's not their first language. The fact that they can hold a fluent conversation with you is amazing. Shut the fuck up.
Give them a chance. Slow it down. What is happening? They're trying. You should try too.
Oh, exactly. And that's the thing is that we're used to things being given to us, catered to us. And that's it's that whole stupid privilege thing that a lot of especially the younger generation have now because they're all, they've got their smartphones in grade school. Everything's at their fingertips, they're used to it. But like,
Yeah.
no, you don't treat people that way. You treat people with respect. And especially somebody who English isn't their first language. But
Right.
if they're able to talk to you and hold a conversation, you can understand them, then what's the problem? That's just my thought on it.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I don't really understand what the problem is just because they have an accent. You obviously understand what they're saying to you and they understand what you're saying to them. So there shouldn't obviously be a problem.
Well, I mean, think about like, because, I have the typical Midwestern accent, which is really plain and dull. But I mean, you go over to what is it, Brooklyn, and they have like this accent to where I can't understand
Mhm.
them half the time. And it's the same damn language. Same if
Yeah.
you go further south, the way that they pronounce things is much different. And it doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It just means that the language, like how they enunciate things where they live, is different.
Yeah, and I used to have a bit of an accent when I was a child because my mother taught me how to speak. So of course I would sound just like her. So I had to adapt with my voice. So I completely get it, and I don't mind people asking me, "Can you repeat that?" If they don't understand when I was trying to adapt my voice, they didn't understand how I was, with the accent. So I'm like, "You can repeat. Do you not understand? I can repeat it."
Well, and then there's me. Even if I did understand it, I have brain farts left and right. I'd be like, okay, my brain checked out halfway through that sentence. You want to say that again?
Too.
All right. What else you got, Destiny?
Well, we can move on to the subject of this one might get a little deep,
Ooh.
but what privileges do white people have that you do not? Like, what things are you limited on doing that a typical white person can do without having to worry? Um,
So this might seem a little cliche. Peace of mind.
Walking the street. No, seriously,
Yes.
walking the street, not having to worry. Like if I ever have kids and I have sons, I
Be
I
great.
wouldn't have to have that conversation, not the sex conversation, but the never wear a hoodie when it's dark and, make sure that your hands are not in your pockets and make sure when a police officer comes up to you, you don't look like you're grabbing for anything. Do you know what I'm saying? I'd have
Yeah.
peace of mind that my son would come home every night and not be on the news.
Right, or teaching them that when
Troublemaker.
a
Thank you for
police
the follow.
officer pulls you over, you have to show your hands at all times.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That's the first thing that jumped to my mind is how
Going
to
out the
handle
window,
police
you're not
officers
unarmed.
when you
Yeah.
get pulled over. And to me, that is disgusting.
Mm-hmm. It makes me scared for young men today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like scraping the top of the iceberg because there's so many different things I'm sure that white people do on a daily basis that they do without hesitation and without judgment or being scrutinized. Meanwhile, black people go and do the same exact thing, then they're like, "Ugh," it's like scoffed.
You can probably give an example right now. Just going down to your local store just to pick up a couple items and being able to strike up a conversation with the random person in the store. Depending on where you gals live, I mean, if you were to walk up and have just a random conversation with another white woman, I'm pretty sure that might seem awkward to some people because of the mentality.
Why are you talking to me right now?
Exactly. And see, that's the thing. That's one thing because like I can go and do that and it's not frowned upon. But why is it different when the shoe's on the other foot?
Huh.
It shouldn't be, but why?
Yeah, I guess I can get that. I think it's because like I've never even thought of like walking up to someone in a store and speaking to them. The first thing in my mind would be like they would look at me like I'm some type of crazy person.
Oh, we got our fair share of those, but I mean, because it's not necessarily, go and walk up to them, but like, you're looking for a certain item, another gal's looking for the same kind of item, and you end up talking for a sec. Like, oh, hey, try this one. I've had a lot of good success with this kind of batter.
Oh yeah, no, I've never done that. I've never experienced that.
Yeah, and see, I do that all the time in the stores, but I imagine because of inherited prejudices that it's probably something that doesn't happen as easily for you.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Either.
Yeah.
That's nice.
That goes back to like we're just used to it.
Yeah.
Is things that you're used to that you don't even notice anymore.
Right. Now, and my whole thing is that I'm going to turn into a 2-year-old, but why? Why? Why should it be that way? Why does it have to be that way? Why can't we break the mold and see people as people? But that's just one of the things that you're robbed of. Although, trust me, in some situations, be grateful. There's some really weirdos that I've bumped into.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, one guy I was looking for. I was picking up some tuna, and this guy was looking at pickled herring, and he's like, "Oh, I need to get some pickled herring because I'm hard of herring."
It's not
Sir,
dad jokes.
sir.
Yeah, Dad joked in the middle of Walmart. This happened like 2 weeks ago.
Man, you are banned.
All right, here's another deep question. Can anyone, people of color included, be racist?
Yes.
yes.
Oh my God. What?
That's a
Hell yes.
resounding yeah.
Oh my, what I'm telling you, man, black people can be just as racist. I love my people,
If not more.
but man, if not more. And colorism is nothing
Alive and
but-
well.
It's in my own family.
Colorism is alive and well.
It is in my own family. That's so sad. But like black people, Asian Americans, Latin American, they can be just as racist.
Do you think it's because of the racism that they have received for the last hundreds of years?
Yeah, I think it could definitely be that. I think there's a lot of anger towards it and people
It's honestly we're categorizing ourselves.
yeah, grouping
Mhm.
basically. Yeah.
Because if you take it back, what were they doing with the slaves? The lighter skins kept in the house as servants, and slam pigs. I hate to use that, but that's what it was.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
I haven't
They're
heard that
divided.
term before, but I know what
And
you
the
mean.
darker skins were in the field.
They said divide them by color and you'll have control over them for years to come.
And that is exactly what happened.
Colorism is prevalent.
That LGBT podcast a couple weeks ago, and Jay mentioned that obviously he's gay, Jay, And he said that because he was trying to fit in, he actually would be sexist against or homophobic, like make it seem like he was homophobic against other gay people and calling people out for being gay while he himself was gay, just to kind of brush off being, considered gay himself. You know what I mean?
Oh
So I'm
yeah.
wondering if do that as like a mechanism to be like, I'm not that kind of black person. You know what I mean?
That was me. I used to be like, I hate black people. I hate my people. Like,
And it was
and
just
it
to
was
fit
it
in.
was just to fit in because all of my friends, all of them, were white. All of them. That's why I know all the good rock songs.
um, so on the subject of, that, if you were white for a day, what would be the first thing you would do?
Oh my
Like, you turned completely white for just one day, and you would feel comfortable doing something that you couldn't typically do as a black woman. What would you do?
God.
Ooh, loaded.
I wouldn't.
You
I'm
want?
gonna be real with you. I wouldn't know what to do with that type of freedom. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely
It,
makes sense.
it would feel
Overwhelming.
overwhelming. Yeah. To know that, like, hey, if I want to do this,
It's
I
like
technically can.
it's like we went from like the bottom to the mid top of the food chain. Does that make sense?
It's and
We feel
I
like there's too much for us to handle type of deal. Like I'm you've given me a lot to do with. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Or-
and like what do white people have that's really interesting? Golf club, like golf, like fucking clubs where you can go
Oh,
there and
you
just be.
did it!
There's not much to do. You guys have a lot more of a fun lifestyle, whereas white people, they're just like very snobbish a lot of the
See,
times.
see, that's the thing. People always want opposite of what they already have.
The grass is always greener.
We always think that it's greener on the other side. Always.
And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. Like, well, growing up, I used to have huge family get-togethers. My dad had three brothers. They had their families. My mom's side, she had a brother and sister, and their families. We'd have these huge family get-togethers growing up. It was always lively, lots of laughter and talk and everything going around. You know, and it reminds me of at least what's stereotypical in TV and movies on how a black family would get together and be, rowdy with jokes, laughter, stories, and everything else. Like, I would love that kind of life more often because that doesn't happen anymore. My mom's side of the family is that typical, the snobbish. I love my family, don't get me wrong, but it is that kind of that snobbish, quiet, what's prestigious kind of life. And like, no, I want to go back to what I had as a kid.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. I have kind of separated family. There's a lot of colorism within our family. So, my mom's side, my grandma is Polish and black, and then she married an African who was Zulu. Well, my grandma's family is they're basically white. They're very, very light. And when she married a very dark man, she produced darker children, and they didn't like that because they believe that lighter is right, and so that kind of segregated our family. So when family members die in our family, we come together and it's a really weird sight because we still sit separate. We have the Collins on one side and the other people on the other side.
I could smack them all upside the head. I have 4 Guatemalan cousins because they were adopted into the family.
Oh.
And luckily, because I've got, I guess, technically 6 adopted cousins, but 4 of them are Guatemalan. And luckily in my family, they were treated no differently as if they were compared to being born in.
Mm.
So it just kind of baffles me. And the reason it baffles me is because I don't have to live that. I'm fortunate for that. And I know I'm fortunate. But just to know that that kind of behavior that you're speaking about is so common. I mean, you hear about it all over the place.
Yeah, that is true.
And it really just kind of breaks my heart because I loved the family get-togethers where everybody's mingling and, because you are family, whether you're adopted,
Just the fact
married
that
in, or born in, your family.
shade can separate
Different
a
shades
family.
can separate a whole family. Yeah, that's crazy.
It is. It's sad.
It is.
So in your words, Lizelle and Jewel, why is All Lives Matter only pushing back equality? Because we know people have, there are some people with the All Lives Matter phrase, and they're like, well, that makes sense to me. All lives matter. But there are also some people with the All Lives Matter that are only for All Lives Matter because they think that they don't matter, if that makes sense.
That does. So my take on that is All Lives Matter didn't get kick-started until Black Lives Matter became a movement. And I mean, I never heard of All Lives Matter until after the BLM started like getting momentum, to be
You're
quite.
not saying that all lives
No,
don't matter. We're
no,
just
no,
saying
I'm
that
just saying my
Black lives matter too.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're not saying they matter more than the other, and that's what All Lives Matter got started off the thought of, thinking that we're trying to spread the word that Black lives are better than the next. When it's not, we just want to matter as well. Like, because basically that whole movement is start on fighting police brutality, killing our brothers and sisters in the streets for not even doing anything but holding some candy in their pockets.
Ooh, yikes.
I'm sorry. Let me take a little breather first on
Just a
that.
quick breath.
But that's what I took from it. Like they're trying to dishearten what it's actually about. They took what it was about and kind of warped it to what they think it is instead of doing their research. And then ALM became a thing.
And I get like some people they don't like at first when I heard all lives matter I was like, yeah, that's the point. That all lives matter. That's great. We all matter.
When you read about what the movement was about, you were like, wait a second.
And I read it and I was like, wait a minute. That's not what this is about. And like some people like obviously depending on the region that you're in, it might be a little bit different. Um because some people they know that all lives matter.
Yeah.
But they might see where it just says Black Lives Matter and they're like, well, what about me?
Yeah.
And
I don't feel any type of way about anybody that supports All Lives Matter. But I take it anytime I meet somebody that is supportive of it, it gives me a chance to at least educate them. If I don't succeed in educating them at the end, that's on them, not on me.
Right.
Hmm.
Well,
yeah.
because that actually leads me to another question of, I've heard this both ways. So in the Black Lives Matters movements where they've had some parades and they've had some protests, peaceful ones, mind you, and they have people of other races, and a lot of whites marching with them. I've heard a lot of people say, good on them. They're marching as allies. This is great. But I've also heard other people like, well, they're not black. They don't know the struggles. They shouldn't be there. What are your thoughts on
I hate that. I hate
that?
that.
Uh-oh.
Because they are literally putting in the effort to understand that you cannot hate someone, you cannot fault someone for trying. You cannot fault them. So even though they may not know, they may not understand, they are trying to. So even though they may be ignorant, they still stood out there and they still protested and they still said the same chants that all those other Black brothers and sisters said. So I hate that. I hate that saying so much.
And gatekeeping it doesn't make it any better because it's counterproductive. What we're trying to work towards being equal to everybody else, everyone getting treated the same, everybody getting the same
We're
opportunity.
all fighting for the same thing. It's the effort that counts.
Right, because there really wasn't much in the way of protests or any movements in my area. There were some, but I live in a small little podunk town, basically. Not as podunk as you are, Tanis, but um, but I would have gone to a movement like that, just because trying to educate myself, trying to be there as an ally. Obviously, yeah, I can't speak from personal experience, obviously, but I want to be there as a supporter of, yes, with all the rising of, we're not going to say why on here because we don't want to open up another can of worms, but the amount of hate crimes and the amount of violence that has been rising against blacks. And I don't, it's always been there and it's always been bad, but the media coverage on it is getting more frantic with it. And just to bring light to the, hey, this is not right, stop it.
Right. I appreciate anyone who just even tries. It's it's always the effort. You just trying to understand, you just trying to help is all that matters, to be honest.
Well, something that might make your day. So our Tanis in chat here, he lives in a very smaller town. He's one of my high school buddies, and it's a small town of maybe about 7,000 people. And he says, I personally never understood the correlation between a person's skin color and the respect and humanity that every human being deserves. Just this week, we had a customer make derogatory comments to one of my friends at work. I've known this guy for years. I couldn't even believe it. That guy is now banned from the stores. The guy who made the derogatory comments.
Way to go.
Wow. Way to go.
So humanity does have a sliver of hope.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing something wrong and doing what you can to see if you can correct it, or just saying something.
It's one step at a time.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
not gonna happen overnight.
and like I mentioned in the LGBT plus podcast, um, I think it's going to take time, but I feel like as we are becoming more focused on equality, that our children are going to start learning from people who are trying to be pro equality, and then that will continue to carry on more and more as the older generations kind of dwindle off. Because again, nobody is born racist; it's just taught. So obviously, the further we get away from the people who kind of grew up with kind of racist parents, the better we're going to be towards pushing toward actual equality, which I think is good to think about.
Well, and
Yeah.
the more that people like you and Suey, who are raised in racist households, break away from that, it just spreads things out of, you know, widening that gap of racist versus equality.
Mm.
You know, and I had something else in brain farts, so never mind.
So, the Confederate flag, in your opinion, why is this flag bad, and or what do you feel like it represents? Because we know we're in the South-ish. We're kind of near the South.
We're like bougie South.
See, I
Kind of
don't
like
think I have too much information about the Confederate flag and a lot about what it does represent in today's world to give my opinion on that.
All I know is that the people that I've met who do hang that flag proudly have not been the nicest to me.
Right.
I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
flag, it kind
So
of
I don't think I
represents.
can give a informed opinion on that.
They try to say that the people that fly or let it fly in their yard and whatnot in their trucks and who knows, they want to say that it represents the South, but the South lost. The
Oh,
South lost, and
I didn't
Like
want to
it.
say it either.
I'm just putting it out there, like the fact that people fly it, they're fighting. It's the same people that fight for all lives matter. And it's the same people that are like, you can't take my flag away from me. This is my flag. This represents my Southern heritage. Well, the South lost. So pack it up, Buttercup.
Sorry.
Well, let me add one more thing on top of that. The quote unquote Confederate flag is actually the Tennessee state flag for the Confederacy. It was not the flag of the Confederacy. So, did you grow up in Tennessee?
Right.
Incorrect in two states.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I had to do that one.
But yeah, I went on a trip with my friend with Casey. Obviously, you know who Casey is. And we went to North Carolina, and we went in like the mountains of North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
So there were like every time we'd see a flag, we'd be like, "I love America," and then just kind of drive by. But it was just like Confederate flags flying out of these people's yards, just and not even the American flag, just the Confederate flag, just
Whoa, that's
flags,
crazy.
like what you would see in big shipyards and stuff, just huge Confederate flags. And we were like, damn, this is not the area you want to be in if you are black, because these are definitely the people that are not your friend.
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. I have
Oh my!
I have family that like the
I'm
Confederate flag.
sorry, y'all. This one comment got me.
And
I'm
you know what's
sorry. The
okay?
Confederate.
He's this is
Denmark?
DK. He is actually from Denmark.
I'm sorry. You know,
And he is
you know,
throwing it in there for good humor, and I love
flag
DK.
means everything is all right, Uncle Daddy.
See, he's not even a native to America, and he knows the jokes.
Not just I don't even an accent. Just voicing his comment. Okay.
Oh man, DK, I love you, man. You're good people.
Yeah, deceased.
So, as far as like experiencing like life today, when it comes to your race, do you no, sorry. Give us one or more examples of how you're still experiencing racism to this very day. Like, are
Ooh.
you still experiencing, like, I know we mentioned the whole growing up and you were experiencing racism in schools, but to this day, like, what areas are you mostly experiencing racism, or what activities do you do that you experience negative looks or comments?
Well, last week in my own neighborhood, there is this um white guy and he drives a white Charger and he almost hit me.
My God.
And he
Oh
got mad
no.
at me, you guys, flicked me off and called me the N-word, and all I could do was go, "Have a good day, sir."
Oh my god.
That's all I could do. Like, just have a good day because I'm not even gonna argue with you at this point.
That is not
The fact
worth
that she
it.
reported it. The fact that she reported
Yeah.
it and no actions were
I
taken.
did report it to my office because he lives in the same building as me.
Okay, now that part's sad. I mean, I understand not fighting him on it because it sounds like he's just inept and wouldn't understand it anyway. But the fact that no
Small
actions were
PP energy.
taken.
Real
Right.
small PP energy.
All PP energy, exactly.
Small PP energy. See, for me, it's work. Granted, it's okay. I work in a medical office. Patients are a little older. I get it. But literally, I've had a patient literally ask to talk to someone else. And when she got that other person that happened to be one of my white coworkers on the phone, she said she could hear the neck roll in my voice.
Excuse
Oh
me?
my God.
Now, see, I work in a healthcare industry. I'm
Honest to
IT.
God. Honest to God.
Hands on the old lady. I'm just telling you right now.
How do you hear a neck roll? That's
How
the
do you hear a
funniest thing
neck
I've
roll?
ever
DJ.
heard.
And I was talking like this. I'm sorry, ma'am, but your $30 balance does need to be paid by your appointment.
All right, and I'm going to say something right now.
I was
Something
like,
just
you
popped up
never
in
be $30.
chat.
Hold on.
Something just popped up in chat with some ASCII art. And I'm going to say this right now. That kind of bullshit does not fly in this channel, and you are going to be reported. It was a swastika in ASCII art, if you're wondering.
Not cool. Not cool.
That is a symbol, like the Nazis took up a symbol meaning something completely different to make it themselves.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. That is the symbol of racial intolerance, which is exactly what we're talking against right now.
Exactly.
Anybody else caught doing that shit in this channel is going to be immediately reported and deleted from this channel. No.
No, JoJo.
JoJo, you're a fucking shithead troll.
JoJo, we will beat you up like Mojo JoJo.
And see, that's just, I don't understand why people think it's cool to do shit like that. You know?
He's been reporting how to create a whole new username. Apparently, it's Jojo Boba 228, which means there were 227 other Jojo Bobas.
Oh, not 227 more.
Oh, time to create 229.
No.
Little PP ass bitch in our chat.
Oh, Lord.
Anyways, moving forward, how would you explain white privilege, girls? Speaking of the swastika posting, white privilege. When you think of white privilege, how is that? When somebody has white privilege, you're not telling them that they are better than or something like that. It's just telling them that they have more opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah,
like
when I say you have a privilege, it's like if I were to go do the same thing that you just did, the outcomes would be different.
the action is the same, but the outcomes are different.
Yes, the actions are the same, but the outcomes are completely different.
Exactly. And there's people that are like, I don't have white privilege. I'm not privileged. I grew up poor, blah, blah, blah. There's people out there who literally say, like, I don't have privilege. I was grown up poor. I grew up in the ghetto. I didn't have all these things handed to me. And there is that misconception. Like, it's not that you are rich or that you have had these opportunities. It's just that in specifically just having white skin, you
You
guys me, we, as in me and Mel and anybody else that's white, we naturally just have more privileges than anybody who is of any other ethnicity, literally any other, Asian, black, everything.
an
We have more.
American.
For one, no offense to your guys' names. I love your names. I think they're beautiful. But there is studies done showing that you take in a blind study of applications and looking at resumes, just based off of the names that are on there. If there's a name that sounds black, they're less likely to get that job.
I'm not gonna lie, my mom said she named me Jewel so that I wouldn't have those problems in life. When I fill out applications, I do not put down that I'm black. I put down that I'm other or that I'm two or more races because I know that there's a chance that I can get some type of asshole and he'll just swipe my application because it says that I'm black, African American.
The position has been
Yeah.
filled.
So I definitely I lie on my application.
So it's from that to the color of voice, like, so job opportunities, even public assistance opportunities. There's almost this misconception that blacks are expected to go and do this, like they survive off of these because they don't work hard. And that's not the truth. The truth is that they're not provided the good job opportunities for multiple reasons that I don't agree with.
Mhm.
So they need the assistance to get by till an opportunity comes along.
Right.
And so that's some white privilege for you right there, is just based on things that you cannot change about yourself.
Yeah.
Back in the early 1900s, there was bleaching creams, and I think there's even bleaching creams now in other countries that they're still trying to get banned, but so you don't look white or you don't look black, so they make you look white. And
Yeah,
these things can kill you.
Bleaching is
to
very
born.
important in a lot of communities.
I would have hated to be born in like the 70s as a woman trying to wear makeup or whatnot, or whenever makeup was all a big thing, maybe 80s, 90s, because I've only seen maybe these past 10 years that the makeup industry is actually creating foundations to fit all types of different skin colors versus just the lighter skins.
Yeah.
Oh
Like
yeah. When I was
where
younger, makeup was hard. That's why I don't wear makeup like that to this day. I barely wear makeup because when I was younger, trying to find my shade was hell on wheels.
so do you feel like there's discrimination between dark skinned and light skinned people?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we definitely, yeah, yeah. My mom's light skinned and I am an in between skin. So
Hmm.
it was like she was hit with a reality check that she does get away with certain things and she's treated a little bit differently from her slightly darker daughter. So it's definitely a thing. Then I had a friend who was darker than me and we would go out together and she would be treated differently from me just because she was like two shades darker than me. It was like the craziest thing ever.
And Lizelle, how about you? Because you are half black and half Filipino.
Yeah, well, for me, it was because I'm half black. Like when I would go around some Filipinos, they look at me certain differently because I'm not whole Filipino. They would look me a little better if I was half white and half Filipino. I hate to say it, but Filipino culture has taught you they don't like people of color. They even say I'm quoting my mother here. If you had darker skin, you were considered low.
Mm,
And
yikes.
that is a cultural thing for them.
And that's why my grandfather kept my mom in the house. He wanted her to have a better chances of finding a good marriage. So she's the only girl of all boys. All her brothers are dark, and she is light for that reason.
Yeah, I wish people could think of it this way. I'm looking at your gal's picture, and I'm just looking how beautiful your skin looks, how flawless it is, because I've got marks all over my face. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh man, that is beautiful. I'm jealous.
Telling you, the pictures don't do it justice. These women are absolutely gorgeous in person. Even just the photos are beautiful, but in person, they're even more beautiful. So not only are they strong and resilient women, they're gorgeous.
Definitely.
White chocolate, you know you gorgeous.
She is, but she never listens to us.
Never. I've been telling her for all the years that I've known her that she is so beautiful.
Anyways,
Now that she's
outside,
blushing.
you lived in
Totally.
Japan, right? You lived in Japan for a few years.
Yeah, I was there or whatever.
So, how was race viewed in Japan versus here in the States?
Wow, it was, let me tell you, before I went over there, I had people telling me, oh, the Japanese aren't going to like you because of your skin. Oh, you're so big. They're definitely not going to like you. That was when I was bigger. Okay, I get over there. I didn't experience any racism, but my white friends that I had over there did. And it was like the craziest thing I had ever witnessed ever. Like, seriously, I did not experience racism over there. Like, I had tons of Japanese friends, tons. I literally explored so much. And the way I'm treated here versus the way I'm treated in Japan was crazy. Yeah, it's night and day. You're right. It's night and day.
That's good to hear. It's still sad to hear and to know that US, like, we obviously there's not many black people in Japan. There are some, but there's not as many as there are in the States. So how is it that Japan is able to be more accepting of the difference in races versus US, which we have all sorts. We've got Indian, we've got Asian, we've got black, we've got Native American, but yet everybody has to look at color. It blows my mind.
Because we built our society based off of color.
Very true.
They try to make a hierarchy.
Right. It's all based off of color. And that's why we can't see past it.
Well, because when America was first founded, it came with the class system of the English, and which was very deep seated. Now, granted, it's not as rigid or anything as the Indian class system, but it's so deep seated into our heritage of anybody born in the United States. But that's where we need to think outside the box and think differently. And I think that is slowly happening. The more and more that we educate, the more and more that we treat, people as equal, and that it doesn't matter. What matters is the person and the personality. I think the more we'll get away from that. But not, you wish it could happen overnight, but it won't. One of the documentaries that I had watched was like everybody's being told to wait. Oh, that's what it was. I think it was Amend. It's on Netflix. And, every time that, anybody of color wants to make a change for better, more equality, they're told to wait. And I don't think we should wait. I know it's not going to happen overnight, but as long as we keep making progress and we don't backtrack, then I think the future would look pretty bright.
It's true. Keep making strides towards a better future.
So in the film industry, did you guys have any black celebrities you looked up to?
Oh God,
Because
I cannot
about it,
answer this.
from the
I worked with
90s,
a lot of white celebrities.
No, for real.
first.
I was gonna say I am the black girl who, I had the white friends, so I didn't really watch black movies. I was trying to fit in, like so.
you think about it back in the 90s, though, there weren't really many representations of black people in movies as main characters.
See, I was
Oh,
like,
man,
I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna be Britney Spears.
No, I just knew I was Britney Spears. I just knew I was her.
And then I was like, oh, I'm gonna be Mariah Carey today.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Well, Julie, you got the pigtails to go with it. Because wasn't that one of Britney Spears' first
When she was in the
images.
schoolgirl outfit.
Yeah,
And
the scroll girl outfit with the pigtails.
I did have one first black celebrity like
Oh,
idol.
Raven Simone.
No, mine was
Oh.
Janet Jackson, baby.
Oh.
You gotta remember I have old ears. Old ears. But yeah, Janet Jackson until she had that titty situation.
What?
Fill up.
Dude, I wouldn't want to be
She
her
had
in that
She had the halftime show. at the-
halftime show. Part of her, because it's like a bus,
and
like
she
a.
like ripped her little
Wait,
pasty
what?
off.
Are
He
you
ripped her pasty
serious?
off. Yes, and her whole titty was on national TV live.
It was almost like a full corset where it covered the breasts,
Yeah,
and one of the breasts fell off, and to expose nipple and everything.
We saw the jiggle and everything.
Where was I?
Probably watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, that'll explain it. Never mind.
Yeah, I didn't see it live. I saw all the aftermath. But I mean, just like even if it happened to a white woman, they would have been even just. I would think that it would be as equally scrutinized for that.
They said that was no accident. Oh man.
That's DJ's just kidding. That's what that little face on there means. Is he's joking?
I have to see this video.
Oh, I'm sure it's there. But I mean,
girl, they got rid of it. If you find one, it's going to be censored.
What?
but all right. So 80 Babies Like Me, though, think about the sitcoms growing up. There was no main black character for the mainstream TV.
I remember growing up on Family Matters.
Yeah. Family Matters was the exception, though, but that is one that I watched just as equally as I did. What were the other ones? Everybody Loves Raymond and other things like that I would watch.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
But like even when they do try to get more cultural diversity into sitcoms and everything, the main person was never of color.
Movies and such, it's always a white lead.
Black best friend.
Exactly.
And that's what led to the joke of the black man's the one who dies first in the horror movies.
Oh man, when in reality, that black people would never be in those situations.
Oh, okay. DK's calling me out, and he is right. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, I think they put more black households in perspective with that one because I think more people watched it because of Will.
I think they did because
that's my opinion.
He was really climbing the ladder in popularity with his music at the time, and now he's got a TV show. Yeah, and I think they were watching it because of him.
He was a rapper, and they were like, "You need to act."
Ooh, ma'am.
No, for real. That's actually what happened.
Hey, but he's damn good at it. He's still doing movies.
Damn good at it. But yeah, I think that's why people started like watching it because one.
You're right, DK.
I want to see if a rapper can't act.
I don't know. Well, there's Ice-T. He ended up on being on.
I'm a Scorpio. Do not judge me harshly. But Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It touched on a lot of subjects, like that one episode where they got thrown into jail, him and Carlton, and they didn't know that they were the son and a nephew of a judge, and the only reason they got thrown into jail was because of their skin color. They had no
all about that episode.
They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That was the only crime they had. Wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh man,
well,
girl, I love that show.
I think it's great that they showed something like that. But I mean, growing up watching it as a kid, basically, you know, it didn't come to my mind like this was an actual issue or anything like that.
On that, fatherless households, because now, and it doesn't have to be like a deadbeat dad situation. Some men. They don't make it home.
Not getting too old to remember.
We're not talking about our ages now. Let's not. We're ladies. You never talk about a lady's age.
I think I really am getting too old to remember a lot of things.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I'm an elephant. I got
Oh, different strokes. Yeah.
Different. That was my stuff.
Hey, yeah, DJ's gonna say, "Don't worry about your ages. He's the oldest one here."
Was there ever a time you guys called someone out for being blatantly racist? And if so, what was the outcome?
I ain't gonna lie, every time I called out a racist comment or something, I was trying to make it into a joke so that I wouldn't get whopped.
Someone else made a racist comment and then you made a joke about it?
Yeah, no, I was like, that's racist in a joking way. But I was like,
Ha,
yeah, that's racist.
racist, and, like, smile at them, but, like, painfully smile.
Yeah, I'll be like the awkward, that's racist.
Racist.
Back in January, I went to a bar with my friends, and one was white, one was black. And we were just sitting down, and this Latin American guy comes up and he asks us all our names. You know, he don't care. And he was like, flirting with my white friend. I was like, okay, cool. When we had spoke though, me and my other black friend, he like stops and he goes, I'm so sorry, no offense, but you guys sound really proper. And I look at her and she looks at me and we're like, okay, thanks. And he was like, yeah, it's just because I based black women off of stereotypes and you guys are not giving me that. And I was like, well, if I were to base you off of stereotypes and ask you if your name was some type of Latin American name, you would be upset, wouldn't you?
Mhm.
And he just left it at that. And I was like, you have to put yourself in those shoes too.
Yeah, that's, I know that's not the first time that's happened to you too.
Oh, yeah. But listen, you educate them. You educate.
Yes. Well, speaking of that, Artanis, did that actually happen with you and your folks? He's saying, unfortunately, with his parents, he would turn around and tell them, like, "Hey, that's being racist. You didn't raise me that way."
I love that.
Listen, I tell my mom the same thing. I'm like, listen, I don't know. We are black. I don't know why you're like that.
But one time I was like, oh really? You think like that? That's racist.
Wait, you mean you're black? But no, you'd love Artanis. He's a huge teddy. He's a big teddy bear.
We love teddy bears.
He's
I thought I heard titty too.
Oh my
He's a
God.
yeah, he's a titty.
I like him even better.
Well, he does love titties as well, but no, he's a teddy bear.
Titty.
Titties. Well, and that's the other thing. Like when it comes down to how people talk, like I fumble my words a lot. Like I mumble sometimes because I need to get some dental work done. So like, is it the only thing is because I'm a white woman that people don't give me a lot of shit for that? Like why does it matter how we talk as long as we can understand one another? That's
Well,
something that never can get through my thick skull.
So, as there's black stereotypes, there's also white stereotypes. A lot of people, like, I hate to say the stereotype for a typical white female would be they're soft and sweet and caring. Ooh, did you, okay, yeah. But yeah, so that's why when a person of color approach somebody, they were kind of on edge, don't know if they're going to go off because we're known for tempers.
White women's tears.
White women's tears. That-
Exactly. You know anything about that, Mel?
No, I haven't heard of that.
White women's tears is essentially like in the past. Now this is like a very crude and short way of saying it, but when a white woman cries, things happen. Like justice is served to whoever that person is that's crying. For instance, people, God, what is that kid that got put on to death because a white woman said that, like he like raped her or something. Got put to death. Later on, it was found out that that kid was absolutely innocent.
Oh, fuck.
This
That's
was
why
way
a lot of people of color consider a white woman crying dangerous.
dangerous.
There's a trend on TikTok right now of like white women
Crying.
crying, and then when the bass drops, they like turn
it
into a
off.
normal face and then wink at you.
They say
it's the turn off challenge.
Turn off your emotion, and they go back to just smiling.
Damn.
It's
That's
the
how quick they can
craziest
just
thing
make-
ever.
That's how quick they can make themselves cry at a drop.
I can't.
And
But
that's what that whole trend is about.
I wasn't raised that way. But here's one thing I do like seeing, though. A lot of those women are starting to be labeled as Karens now. So the stereotype is starting to move the other direction.
Yeah, they're exposing themselves.
Yeah. Well, and that's the great thing about social media and everything else. Everybody having cameras on their phone that can take video. They're able to expose this and show it. And they're even exposing themselves with some of these videos that they've taken because it's so over the top. Like somebody who's having has PTSD or has severe anxiety, if they're in the middle of a panic attack, they're not going to be filming themselves. And these women that are, psychologists are analyzing it and calling them out on their shit.
Mhm.
But that also discredits them later on when they try to do something untruthful like that. It's not taken as seriously as it was. And I hope it continues that direction and let facts speak for themselves so somebody who is innocent doesn't get put to death like that.
Right. That's true.
So,
So
oh, go ahead.
you go ahead.
No, you.
No,
I'll
you.
subject. So whenever you're done,
Okay.
try to keep the pace going because my brain.
Yeah. Well, one thing I was going to ask, going back to film and TV, do you think that now, like let's say the last 5 years, do you think that the cultural diversity in TVs and movies is getting to be more equal? Are we moving in the right direction?
Yeah, I think we are. I definitely think we are. How do you feel, sis? Because I think we're moving in the right direction. Your face is showing me something else.
Yeah, I think we're heading in the right direction. It's just the momentum that we're starting to get, it needs to keep going. Like, don't think that's just enough. Like, see what else you can do to constantly, you know, be a human. Consciously be a human. It's not really that hard, but it is.
Oh yeah,
Only
definitely
because
not to
we're so
stop.
complacent.
Keep it moving, but I mean, do you think we're going in the right direction at least?
Yeah, I think so. I think so
I
because,
think we are.
but because think about before there was no talking even about this.
And
So,
I think it's good that we can talk about it.
and it all starts with a conversation. And like Jewel was saying earlier, education. You find someone and they have a twisted view and a twisted education on something. Go ahead and tell them what you really know. If they don't understand it, tell them just do your research.
Listen, I just want to see if I can change you.
Yeah, that's it. If I can't, that's on you, not on me.
Well, because like when there were some movies that were popular in Japan, either based off of like an anime or a game or something, and when they came out as a movie, there was a white person playing them, not an actual Asian actor or actress. You know,
Yeah.
it's still happening all over the place, and I remember there being such an outrage. I want to say it was like Ghost in the Shell or something.
Oh, yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it is. It was that one.
But we have shit happening like that all the time still. And I just think, like, yeah, we're moving in the right direction, but we still have a large way to go.
Yeah, that is true. But it's just good to see that we are even taking the effort and the progress to to do those things, to make a change.
I agree. So growing up, did your parents ever teach you anything specifically about being black, like acting or your behavior? Don't do this. Um, do this instead. Did they teach you actively, like to be cautious about specific things because of your color specifically?
Mm.
Like the other
Like
kind of talk that we mentioned earlier.
kind of like with the things you were saying earlier, Jewel, where you said that if you have kids, you would tell your children to, raise their hands if they're pulled over in a car, just so that way the officer can see their hands at all times. Did they teach
Oh,
you anything?
certain things.
You you know what's crazy? It's like the conversations that people have to have with their black kids now are different from the conversations that we had.
Right.
Does that make
Because
sense?
there's more dangers today than when we were
the
kids.
the 90s and the Y2K was a more simpler time. Yes, there was
Oh,
racism,
yeah.
but it's not like today where your kids playing outside and they can get shot. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I was running from dogs and digging underneath fences and outside from sun up to sundown, and I did not have to worry about those things until recent years. So I don't, my parents just always, told me be respectful. Be
Concerning
respectful.
if we think that we're heading in the right direction, then if we are experiencing more of these issues going forward, especially with the fact that it's pretty easy to get firearms, um maybe we're not heading in the direction we need to be heading right now, or we seem to be regressing as far as like the violence goes.
I think it
Right.
could be kind of like what happened with Africa and the apartheid, it was chaos. It was
Mhm.
chaos until it was fixed. And so it may not seem like things are changing or going in the right direction, but just opening up the conversation is good enough. And it may be chaotic and it may be hectic, but it's moving in the right direction, if that makes sense.
Well, I think there's some things that we are definitely moving the right direction on. There's other things that have slid a bit, but I think you're right in the sense that because, back in the 90s, we couldn't really have conversations like this,
Yeah.
but now we can. And I will say that in the last 4 years, we have backslid on a lot of things, including women's rights in general, not to mention
Definitely.
everything else. But I think that, in a sense, looking at the silver lining, it has opened up these conversations. It has opened up people speaking their minds about it and bringing attention, so that we can move it forward. So good things may come out of it in the long run.
Right.
So I've got one last question to finish everything off at the end. So do you have anything else, Destiny?
I also have one last question, but I can adjust mine first if yours is a wrap up question.
Yeah, I think it would be kind of a wrap up question.
All right. So, ladies, what can white people do to be invited to the cookout?
Why
Oh my God,
was
yes.
she laughing? She was
I knew one of
laughing.
y'all was gonna ask this.
Well, Destiny, you're already invited.
No raisins in the potato
Oh
salad.
God.
Ew.
Please, no raisins. Honestly, like the whole invite to the cookout thing is just like,
It's like a joke.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a joke. It's like you can come to the cookout as long as you're not racist. Like that's it. Like
I was
We-
afraid that question was going to be racist in and of itself.
No.
oh no.
I know it's a
See,
joke.
that's it. If you
I
bring
love-
potato salad with no raisins, you'll probably get in.
Dude, my grandma, my dad's side was Mennonite, so I can make you a mean Amish potato salad.
Listen, I love all types of potato salad as long as there's no raisins.
Yeah, no raisins.
Agreed.
They don't belong in a potato salad. I don't care who you
Bless
are.
My mother. One time, her neighbor gave her a recipe. I came over ready to eat. I said, "What's that?" There's raisins in it.
What? Shut up! Shut up!
I said, "Mommy, no."
Cookout's just fun, family, and food. No, really, that the cookout is just family and
And
food.
line dances.
So I
That's
mean,
it.
yeah, you're invited to the cookout as long as you're not gonna act crazy
And bring a dish
and bring a dish.
with seasoning. We because I've had some
That
plain
is
dishes.
it. That is it.
I'll
We
be
will
right
not
over for that
be mad
cookout.
about mac and cheese.
Ooh.
Well, Artana says, who does that? Well, the thing is, too, is like up here, like if you say you're going to bring a salad, and I was raised in central Illinois, so it's a bit different than way up here where I live now. So if you go to a potluck or something up here and you say you're going to bring a salad, it's like this jello marshmallow fluff kind of thing, is they call it a salad.
Ambrosia. Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, that ain't salad.
Oh man, that's
But
literally
the
like,
cookout's not a sacred institution. Everyone's welcome. We're not gatekeeping it. It's just funny to say.
I'll be there. There's some usually good food at a cookout. Mom
And
used to make some twice baked beans that were so good.
It sounds good.
Yes.
So now that I've got everybody hungry, so one question I was going to ask, just to kind of bring us back to the whole theme of Juneteenth, I wanted to get your opinions on, for you two, what does Juneteenth mean for you? Does it actually hold a significance, or is it just kind of a national awareness that they brought up as of late?
Personally, for me, it signifies to me that we are actually, getting through to people, that people are actually starting to listen to us. Like people understand that it's not a equal society. It's not everyone's on the same plane type of deal. It's literally one person has a leg up on the nuts instead of I said nuts.
You said nuts.
I said nuts.
Balls.
Instead of everybody having the same opportunities and the same rights and the same, everyone's treated and the same, and there's no one that gets above the other. That's what it signifies to me.
Juneteenth kind of scares me though that they made it a federal holiday. Is it a ploy? Do you know what I'm saying? Is it like a facade to kind of like cover our eyes of what
that's
actually is
another conversation.
happening?
That's what I was trying to say.
Juneteenth is To me, it's another federal holiday. I'm gonna be real about it. I didn't learn about Juneteenth until like recent years, and I'm black. Destiny knows I'm black. So it's like it's just another holiday. It's nice to know that information. It's very, very good. I'm glad that we have a holiday to celebrate it. Is it going to be something that's going to change my life? Nope.
No, but there's a reason I actually picked the background for this podcast that I did because I really liked the first line on it: celebration through education. And even though it's something that, like you said, it's just another federal holiday, I hope we can turn it into something for education to start bringing equality to where it should be.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be put it in the history books. Let's start telling the truth with history.
Well, we need to start doing that across the board because Columbus was not the first one to discover Americas, you dumb fucks.
Oh, man. That's another conversation. Another conversation.
But no, there is a lot of misconceptions even in our classroom. So I hope to me that this holiday, especially for remote areas up here where we could use that education big time for the world stage, I hope it does turn into celebration through education.
Yeah, that would be amazing, to be honest.
Jewel, Lizell, I want to thank you both for joining us. This has just been awesome meeting both of you. But and again, huge special thank you to both of you because, I think education is our way forward because obviously the ignorant person isn't going to listen anyway. But let's focus on those who want to listen. This has always been from how I grew up. This would have been a touchy subject, but I am very happy at the ease that us and chat have been able to participate, and I hope we can do this again sometime.
Chat was great. You guys are awesome.